There's something that's already inherently weird about sitting down and daydreaming so much that you invent entire worlds as a result, aka writing. But there are a lot of things about my writing life and practice that I sometimes feel like are really weird, and I am making this video today not to teach you anything, but to find out if I am alone. My name's Sam, and I'm a romance author based in the UK, and here are 8 things that I do when I'm writing that make me feel like an absolute weirdo.
In case you haven't noticed, I'm weird. I'm a weirdo. I don't fit in, and I don't want to fit in. Have you ever seen me without this stupid hat on? That's weird.
So let's start with my writing environment and situation, because there are a few things there that I'm very particular about, and I can't tell if it's like a normal thing or if I'm being just really picky. The first thing is that I don't actually write very well in the morning. In fact, I prefer to wait until the end of a workday to get my writing done. Now, that's not because I enjoy working a full 9 to 5 day, or 9 to 6 in my case actually, and then sitting down and writing for a couple of hours. Certainly it takes its toll in terms of eye fatigue and just general mental fatigue. But I find that if I try to sit down in the morning and write, I don't feel like my brain has had enough of a warm up. I've not really had any time to sit around and think about my characters or the story, and the part of my brain that needs to do that invention hasn't woken up yet. Plus, I tend to use any spare time in the morning a little bit more productively than I do in the evening. If I were to try to write in the morning, my evening would then be taken up with just relaxation, television, books, stuff like that. Whereas when I write in the evening, my mornings are taken up with exercise, additional rest, housework, and other productive things. So definitely let me know, are you an evening writer like me, or are you a bit more of an early bird? The second thing is that I cannot write without background noise, but I don't mean music, even instrumental music, or coffee shop noises, or anything like that. No, I mean literal noise. Usually what I listen to is something called brown noise, which if you haven't heard of it, I sometimes equate it to when you're on an airplane and you hear that like general hum and rumble of the engine, but it's a really smooth noise. It's kind of like that. Brown noise seems to be the thing that really scratches the itch in my brain and helps me focus. I am even known to be listening to brown noise when I'm having a conversation with someone, because something about it just engages the part of my brain that is super, super active and distracting and allows me to focus on the task at hand. Another sensory thing that I'm really particular about is actually my feet. I absolutely cannot write with bare feet. I have to have on a pair of slippers or a fuzzy pair of socks, not even like small running socks or no-show socks. It's gotta be like proper socks, which can be really difficult in the heat of summertime, because if your feet are too warm, it can make you too warm in general. So it's really important to me to have like different types of slippers that I can have on so that in any season I'm able to focus. The next thing is kind of related, which is that I absolutely cannot write if I am too warm. I'm wearing a jumper right now and I'm getting ready to go start hosting a sprint, but you better believe that the second that I turn that camera off and start properly writing, this jumper is coming off, because I will get way too warm. If I am too hot, I'm just physically too uncomfortable to do anything productive. I also cannot write if I have got light shining directly in my face. Like currently I'm filming this and there is a ring light shining at me so that you can see my face. But if I were trying to write like this, it would not happen. It just like shuts down the part of my brain that is capable of being creative. And it makes me kind of like stressed out. So that's part of why I put up all of these like fairy lights in my room, so that I can have plenty of ambient light without having anything like really bright in my face. I have a task light, like a lamp above my desk, but I'm gonna be honest, I don't use it sometimes. I find it just a little bit too glaring. Maybe I should replace it with a lower wattage bulb, but the point stands that I can't have anything too bright in my face. This next one I know that I am not alone in. Now, I write at my desk for my videos, and when I'm hosting sprints, I write at my desk because having the two screens is really helpful when I'm trying to monitor Zoom. But if I am not hosting sprints and I am not filming, I am not writing at my desk. I much prefer sitting in my bed or lying on my bed or sitting on the couch. For some reason, that difference in posture, which is probably terrible posture by the way, makes me feel more like I'm doing something creative and less like I'm doing something work related. I have found that it's easier for me to write at my desk since I did the lighting change in my room, so I don't turn on these fairy lights until it's time for me to write and be creative in the evenings, because that's sort of my mental changeover from my work day to my writing time. And I did that because I knew I was going to be hosting sprints almost every single day, and I wanted to be able to comfortably write at my desk. But normally, because my desk is so associated with my day job since I work from home, I just feel like I have to be somewhere else. I have to feel like I'm physically somewhere else in order to tap into that creative energy. Now let's talk about a couple of weird quirks about my actual writing. So the first one is about dialogue, which is that sometimes I will read my dialogue out loud. It's really important to me that my characters talk like normal people. Like, you see so many books, and I want to say especially literary fiction, but characters in literary fiction tend to be a little bit more intellectual and pretentious, so maybe this is accurate. But I feel like you see a lot of characters that just, it's like no one would actually say that in real life. And I never want my characters to be like that. So sometimes I will just read out loud what I'm having them say to see if it sounds natural coming out of a real person's mouth. And a lot of times I'll make changes based on that. So certainly if you were to walk by my office when I was writing a dialogue heavy scene, you would think I was full on having a conversation with an invisible person, or with myself, I guess, because I'm doing both sides of it. But hey, that one works. And the last one, which I did point out in a recent video when I was doing my Scrivener project tutorial, is that I actually write in Comic Sans. Now, I know people love to hate on Comic Sans, but it's meant to be one of the most accessible fonts to read. And the reason for that is because every letter or every character is unique. So unlike other words where lots of shapes are shared between similar letters, so for example, B and P might look exactly the same but with the line moved down a little bit, in Comic Sans, the way that the letters are shaped, each one is really, really distinct from the others. Now, what this means is that when you're looking at really big blocks of text, like in a novel, it becomes really easy for your brain to process what's there. When I'm not doing NaNoWriMo, I tend to edit as I go, and that makes it a lot easier to do that. And when I say edit as I go, I mean in a light sort of line level kind of way, but it still makes it a lot easier to sort of jump back up and reference things or to remind myself what I wrote in the chapter before, because I can really quickly scan the text and find things. It also is just nicer to look at for longer periods of time. Don't worry, I don't send anything to my publisher in Comic Sans. I only do my drafting in it, but still, I find it's really useful, and I would love to think I'm not alone in this, so please let me know in the comments if you've got a particular font that you use. I know people are really specific about their fonts, but especially if it's Comic Sans, or let me know if you've ever seen or heard of anyone else doing that, because this one I get a lot of crap for every time I post it on social media. So there you have it. Those are the 8 things that make me feel like a weirdo when I'm writing. Reading back over that list, I can tell a lot of them are like very sensory related, and I am very sensitive to lots of sensory stimuli. So let me know if you want to hear a little bit more about how that side of my life fits with my writing, because it can be a little bit of a challenge, but certainly overcoming some of those sensory particularities, is that the right word? Allows me to be more productive as a writer and more consistent as well. When you create the right environment for yourself to be productive and be creative, it's a lot easier to fall into that zone, especially once you've trained yourself to do so. So please tell me I'm not alone, pretty please. And don't forget to subscribe if you'd like to see some of these weird quirks in action, or call me out in my writing vlogs for not showing them. And I will see you next time. Bye bye.